Full throttle. Here we go.
780 Papa, fly straight out. Contact tower 123.7.
Fly straight out, contact tower 123.7, 8380 Papa.
Okay. Hold center line, we're looking for 75 miles an hour, we'll start to get this little bump. Pull us up a bit.
Saratoga 36260 Whiskey Centennial Tower. Fly eastbound until you're east of Parker Road, then southeast on course, runway 10. Cleared for takeoff 1320 at 5.
Clear for takeoff 10, fly east to Parker Road and then clear on course 20 Whiskey.
Why you like this? Best way to see any area, right?
It's definitely a perspective you don't get elsewhere.
Yeah.
How about I ask you some things? How's that sound?
Yeah, go for it.
When did you first get into crypto? How did you discover Bitcoin or crypto, or like what led you to that point?
Yeah, I had some people who started asking me about it, and so I had Roger Ver on my podcast back when I was doing a podcast in my my apartment in Florida. And it got me curious. I read about it, but I still didn't buy any. And then I had Trace Mayer on my podcast, and I got kind of a more cohesive rundown on what makes it significant. And that's when I started buying in early 2013.
Okay.
And ever since then, I've been convinced it's how we transform the world.
Yeah.
So it's very obvious to me.
How many Bitcoins or did you buy, like your first time dipping your toe in? I assume it wasn't a ton. It was like a small amount, right?
Yeah, so like I'm not gonna kiss and tell in terms of like how many I bought eventually, but the first ones I bought, I had to go to CVS and like send a MoneyGram to some company, and I was able to get I think my first buy was like 2 or 3 coins just to get my feet wet.
Okay.
And then I found a better service than going to MoneyGram. Eventually found a website that sold them, and then like everybody else signed up for Coinbase. So I've never mined them. I've always been trading fiat for them.
Okay. Yeah, my first buy was, let me think, 2012. I bought 10 Bitcoins at $30 each, $300, and I was really scared shitless at the time. I'm like, oh my God, what is this fake internet money? I mean, I was convinced enough to buy it, but looking back, I think I was so concerned about $300 for 10 Bitcoins back then, and now one Bitcoin reached almost 3,000. So it's just kind of funny looking back, you know?
Yeah.
So you got in 2013.
Yeah, I got in 2013, and then off and on started covering it pretty much because when I moved to California, I had this audience of people from my new podcast out there, and what am I going to promote? I'm not really into exercise. I'm not really into nutritional supplements.
Yeah.
Like politics I'm into now, in terms of like outing corruption and stuff. But it was something that just intrigued me. It became obvious that we're all kind of subjects to this fiat currency system, and this is a breakthrough. Also, it's a cool community. I mean, a lot of psychos and stuff, but at the inner circle, it's a great group of people. So.
Yeah, I do feel there's definitely a difference in terms of what people are striving for and what people want to promote. And one of the things that I really liked about Ethereum community and what keeps me drawn to that is the community. You know, the people involved in that are positive towards building lots of different systems for blockchain. And one of the things that was kind of very indicative to me that it was a open arms welcoming community was the fact that you had a lot of people who come from the LGBTQT community. And they feel very welcomed and open and wanting to participate in the Ethereum ecosystem, and much less so coming from the Bitcoin side.
That's interesting.
And so I find that as a very interesting indicator and signal that you've got a group of people who have felt not included for a long time, and they find a community where they do kind of feel included. So
it was also a tougher climate a few years ago. Like Bitcoiners were attacked by this group calling itself Buttcoin. Now that I think about it, like now that we've seen how orchestrated the kind of David Brock troll firms are, and other large interests that use trolling to impact online discussion. Was that a paid trolling campaign? I think probably. Like, I always look at motivation, right? Like, people are busy. If you're a troll or if you're a bored person on the internet, you're attacking Bitcoin every single day, really. Like, why? Like, there's a lot of stuff to attack, right? So, unless there's an agenda, I don't see why that would take off. But no, it seems like it's a much better climate than it was a few years ago. For one thing, for sure, this administration is more pro-blockchain in the sense that nobody's going to prison. So, that's a good thing.
What do you think the chances are that we actually get some, not just, I mean, you say pro-blockchain, I would say it's kind of neutral blockchain.
Right.
What do you think the chances that we actually get pro-blockchain?
Well, the reason why I say pro-blockchain is that Department of Homeland Security, which is one of the federal agencies that Trump now controls because his pick is at the top. General Kelly is the head of DHS. And I believe recently their Science and Technology Department, their official Twitter account, tweeted out stuff about how blockchain could be useful for security applications. And then you have this vague tweet from Trump saying that he met with Putin, that they're considering ways to create impenetrable cybersecurity for things like elections and other kind of public systems. The only technology I know of that would be appropriate is a blockchain. And Putin has recently said that he wants to explore the Ethereum possibilities. So I'm obviously like piecing some stuff together here. Like all I have is that DHS is kind of curious. But if you look out further, like this is a pro-business, pragmatic person who likes gold. He's not a gold bug, but he sees the value in sound money. So can a guy like that see that blockchain is the answer? I hope so.
I hope you're right. I mean, I'd be really disappointed as a technologist if the answer to cybersecurity was more of the same bullshit.
Right.
You know, more of, hey, let's get the encryption keys from everybody. Hey, let's have a backdoor. Hey, let's have our organizations penetrate software and not tell other people about it. And that's like really, really awful and not good for anybody. So I hope you're right that blockchain is part of the conversation for how do we improve cybersecurity.
I also think it's interesting that after his tech meeting at Trump Tower, you know, where he had like the Google guys, Jeff Bezos, a bunch of other people were there. I think Elon Musk was at the table. So that was this big tech meeting where all the tech executives are there. And since that date, it seems like cryptocurrency markets have done nothing but go up in value. And the volume has got big league, when at that point in time, it was still kind of trivial volume, you know, it was okay. But I wonder if the tech community has been told that the U.S. is going to start to soften, because there is a use for these tokens. It's intrinsically useful for everything on the internet. So.
I haven't been informed, so if they're passing out messages, I think I missed mine. But I certainly hope that's the case.
Anyway, as part of my evolution in crypto, because then I want to get your full story. After I got into it, and then when I had more than 2 Bitcoins, when I had a more sizable amount, like everybody, or not everybody, there were smart people who sidestepped it, but I got kind of sucked into the alt game, because I really thought there was a diaspora of new technologies. I wasn't like one of the pump and dump people, but I thought there was an opportunity for different blockchains to take off. And then there was a moment in time where I actually did like a really strong edible and thought about it. And I came to the conclusion that like the alt market is basically dead in its current form. Because this is when I first started to look into Ethereum. And I'm thinking, shoot, like if you could just create all these tokens on top of Ethereum, and at the time like 4,000 nodes were active, like if it's already this decentralized, the risk of launching your own blockchain doesn't make sense. Like, unless there's a very specific use for it, why wouldn't you just use Ether or even sidechain to Bitcoin? Once I got that, the love affair with alts was over, because that ended up doing nothing except for costing me Bitcoin. I mean, it was fun. I learned a lot about blockchains and about human nature, but I shouldn't say nothing made me money. Litecoin made me money, but everything else is... as some troll on Twitter said, they said Seaman must be rich now because he said he went all in. And all in the Litecoin at $4, which is true, I did. But as this person said, he's like, he probably also cashed out at $5.
I feel really bad. I was looking at Litecoin when it was like $4 or $5 not too long ago, and I'm like, I should get some of this. And against my better judgment, I didn't, and lost out on that. But
well, it's still not the big one in my opinion. I agree with you. It's good to have like diverse exposure. You never know what will take off, but.
All right.
But yeah, so your story. You were one of the founders of the Ethereum Foundation and one of the first developers on Ethereum, right?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, the whole backstory for Ethereum's like kind of lost to the archives a little bit, but I guess the important bits is that I was there from the very early days. I was involved with the Ethereum project before they went to Switzerland. They needed somebody to help with the website. At the time, I think it was kind of crashing because people were hitting the website, and it wasn't really set up in the best way to support large traffic. So coming from my background with corporate enterprise, big server kind of stuff, I said, oh, I know how to do this. Hopped in, fixed the server issue with it going down, and then they started asking, if there's more things to do that I could help with. And I had been friends with Mihai Elisier, who's working on Akasha now, a communications platform built on Ethereum. And he kind of convinced me to go out to Switzerland and be closer to the action at the time, because I was sitting in Chicago and things were happening faster than I could keep up with on my comms channels. But yeah, I went out to Switzerland, did what I could to help them from the technology side, from a business side, because you had a lot of people who were not familiar with business and how business runs in a large organization. And I did have that experience, so tried to help them out and get things to a good place with paperwork and legal-wise, and I didn't do a lot of the legal footwork, but I certainly helped them a little bit to kind of go to meetings and do those normal, just like businessy things. But in that process, help establish the Ethereum Foundation as a place for them to have a strong mission statement, to use the funds wisely that they did have. And that's kind of like my origin story with Ethereum, I suppose. And since then, I've worked on code, I've done a whole bunch of other things.
Why are you so passionate about shepherding this one? Why not continue to build on Bitcoin?
I tried to build on Bitcoin, but honestly, it just I got pushback. It was hard. At the time, I was working with Hive Wallet, Wendell Davis, who's working with Omwise Go, I think now, and we wanted to do some stuff in the software that was not possible, and to do it was going to require changes to the protocol or at least buy-in from other wallet providers. So we tried to do this, and if you go back and search the Bitcoin Dev mailing list archives, I think I posted back in 2013 or so on there, and got a not the most idyllic response. Mike Hearn actually responded to me, and I don't hold anything against him. I think he's a great guy. I've met him in person. But it was not the kind of welcoming response. And as time went on, it became clearer and clearer that it was probably going to be pretty hard to make any sort of changes to the Bitcoin protocol. So for that reason, once I read the Ethereum white paper and saw, wow, this is a whole new system. It's built with the knowledge of some of the gaps and problems and difficulties, and written by a bunch of other developers who want a similar thing. So I just kind of felt at home, and it felt natural. I had to read the white paper, I think, second or third time is when I really got it all and understood the big picture. But yeah, once I did, it's like you can't unknow something. You can't unlearn something that is like, you find out is fascinating and amazing and could change the life of you and others. Like, how do you turn back from that?
Yeah.
So now, I mean, he's still here doing that kind of thing, doing it a little bit different way and doing a little bit less technology and code, not working for the foundation directly, but still staying in the blockchain space nonetheless, and trying to help out more users to understand some of the technological underpinnings. Not to become programmers, but to just understand what's going on underneath the hood to enable this new paradigm.
Yeah, you were showing me yesterday on your phone, you have a couple of apps that are built on Ethereum, and one of them you can already get in the App Store.
Yeah.
So seeing that helped me realize that I'm not crazy. That there will be, you know, decentralized apps, and millions of people will use them, and you'll download it from the App Store like anything else, and on the back end, Ether will be the fuel that keeps those things running.
Yeah, I mean, I never really started out as a programmer per se. A lot of my really interest with the internet and web came from publishing my first web page, right? And that was really cool. It was back on GeoCities.
I have a GeoCities page.
Yeah? I wish I could bring that thing back up. It was like black and green, old school Matrix style before the Matrix movies even. But the idea that I could publish my own information to the whole world seemed really amazing to me. And the problem is once you get significant traction, you can't host on GeoCities. You need your own domain name, you need your own SSL certificate, and more importantly, you need your own server.
Right.
And the problem with that is most people publishing information do not want to have to maintain a server. Like, no one really wants to, except for sysadmins. So it's like, yeah, how do I publish my information on the internet without having to worry about servers and backups and all that nonsense? And for me, the thing that really resonated was the possibilities with Ethereum building a new Web 3.0 or Web 3 that would kind of be a serverless infrastructure, right? And it has a lot of benefits from a decentralization perspective that we've talked about a little bit. But the fact that you can publish information out there, have the logic handled by smart contracts, have the images and the text and so forth stored on decentralized storage, and then you can start to pass messages over decentralized kind of messaging systems, right? Ethereum's got one called Whisper. When you put these like 10 poles together, these three things together, you're like, wait a minute, these are like the three components to any computer.
Yeah, so it seems like a more elegant solution to the fact that we spend all day on our iPads and on our computers, but we're getting all the data from a handful of companies, as we discussed in part 1 yesterday.
Yep.
And this is something that is, I describe it as emergent, right? Like, nobody really planned on it, but now people who get the internet nerds, I'm not nearly as tech savvy as you, but I understand there's a need to move away.
Yeah.
Because I've put up websites before that get a lot of traffic, and if you want to do it right, it does cost money. Like the $10 a month hosting plans, great. If you get no traffic, that'll serve you well. Start getting 10,000 views a day, 10,000 video views. You need to pay money for that. So why should you pay money to a host that's not all that secure when you can actually pay out as you need it in a tokenized form?
Right.
And it's so obvious, like, the internet is our society and culture now for most people.
Yeah.
Like, where I get my information, it's true. Like, 95% of my worldview comes from the internet.
Yeah. I mean, sad as it may be, but it's just the reality we live in. It's not in front of our faces, but soon it's going to be. You know, Microsoft and Google and these companies have been working on AR, adding extra overlay layers to our reality, augmented reality. Apple's doing a new big push, making it easier for developers to add augmented reality aspects to just normal applications. We're going to start to see more and more of this. What happens to virtual real estate? What about people wanting to advertise, right? There's going to have to be some sort of universal system for coordinating all these things. And even if we don't agree on absolutely everything, having a system to coordinate a shared set of facts is hugely beneficial. I think that's one of the areas that some of these global companies that do shipping and all sorts of things all over the world, they're seeing that benefit of like coordination between entities that don't necessarily trust each other. Maybe have a small amount, but it's not fully trusting.
Which was the original point of currency. Like when humans came across gold and silver, and then much later upon, rectangles of paper, the idea is you can hand that over to a stranger and they'll fill your gas tank, and they don't need to figure out your credit rating. They don't need to figure out if you're an honest person. The exchange has occurred, right? So. Yeah, if you go out far enough and think about Ethereum long view, I think it dismantles a lot of the problems, not only structurally with the internet, but actually with civilization. So I don't know how good Whisper plans on being, but I know I feel better using the Signal app. Most of my friends are on that. And as far as I know, there's no backdoor. WhatsApp is built off of Signal and has a potential exploit, and is owned by Facebook, which is an exploit in of itself. But Signal, as far as I can tell, is legit. And so I love texting a friend and just knowing, even though I'm not a criminal, I'm not a terrorist, I love knowing that nobody is intercepting that. There's nobody sitting in Fort Meade, Maryland, chowing down on their lunch, reading through my text to a girl. Like, that's great to know.
Yeah.
Or to a business partner or anybody.
Anybody, yeah.
And it actually changes the way you communicate. I don't have to pretend like I'm somebody I'm not. Like, if I want to tell you something hardcore, I'm going to tell it to you.
Yeah.
This is beautiful, by the way. one other topic, it only takes a couple minutes.
Yeah.
Having built a career on the internet, basically spending my life on the internet more or less.
Yeah.
I've noticed that everybody who starts to participate in one of these big apps or one of these platforms, at first it benefits you because the individual benefits from the network effect.
Yep.
And then over time, the company that owns that app realizes that they can just treat you as a sharecropper. And so, you know, my YouTube channel, I'm not allowed to say the exact amount, but basically YouTube takes half the ad revenue, and that's a similar deal for everybody.
Yep.
And that's a lot of money. And Uber, if you're an Uber driver right now, they take 20%. What happens in 5 years after greater market saturation? They'll probably take half.
Yep.
They'll take the most that they can get away with. And that's simply not fair. At a certain point, that's not economically fair.
Yep.
And so if we can build something better and give people an alternative, that's what capitalism is all about. Like, let's build a platform that lets you do what Uber does, but you can take 95% of the money or 90%. Then everybody will use that. If we can build a YouTube where you get 80% of the money or all the money, or where there are no ads at all, you figure out a different monetization model, that's where people will go.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right, because we see that already from eBay. eBay has a basically de facto monopoly on
auctions
on the internet, and their fees have only gone up, and just piss people off more. But because they have that network effect, because they have an effective monopoly, they can do that. People have few other choices because the uptake isn't there for everybody else. So.
Yeah, the network effect at first frees you up and helps you, and then it enslaves you because that network's too powerful to leave. Like, that's Twitter. I kind of hate Twitter. I don't like Jack Dorsey. I don't like the fact that people have been kicked off who've done really nothing wrong except for be rude.
Yeah.
And those 70,000 people are held hostage that I have on Twitter. My followers are held hostage by Twitter Incorporated. So as long as I play nice, I get to communicate with them, but what if I don't want to play nice? What if I want to tweet out encrypted stuff all day long?
Yeah, true that. Get some turbulence, I think, from the mountains here.
Yeah. I was at an Ethereum, kind of Ethereum developer meetup in San Francisco.
Okay.
And one of the EtherCamp guys sent me there when I was still doing some marketing with them.
Okay.
And so I'm there, and they designed this smart contract that's kind of like a hello world thing. You just send money to it, and it's supposed to spit out an answer.
Okay.
And people kept getting the amounts wrong, and it wasn't actually functioning. And this was, this is like more than a year ago.
Okay.
And I was thinking to myself, like, this is already something everybody's excited about, and we're at this stage. We're at the stage of, like, the first steps.
Yeah.
And now we're not that much further. Like, you showed me a couple of apps on your phone. Only one of them is really functional. I mean, it's great that it's in the App Store and it's functional, but, like, it's the first several apps. There will be thousands.
Yeah, exactly. And that really excites me, and it was something that I wanted to work with the Ethereum Foundation for a while, is basically until we could get to the point where the technology is available on mobile, because, I think it's pretty obvious today, if you're not on mobile, you're dead.
Right.
If you're launching a startup of any kind, you need an app, and it needs to be accessible on mobile phones. So if we never really get there with this blockchain technology, that would be really a shame, because that's where all the compute is going. But I do think it offers an opportunity for people to, not only developers to build this stuff, people to experience it on their phone as an alternative, but think about the developers who are launching the apps. Once the technology is sufficiently mature, they don't need all those servers and all that stuff. They just kind of hook in the Ethereum libraries, and it just works like magic. People today are already doing it with, games online, and something as simple as a high score leaderboard. Like, why have that stored on a full server when you could just have a smart contract maintain that information?
Right.
So you just start there and extend it. I think that's like really, really cool and exciting. And now that also means, by the way, we're not going to have problems of Amazon servers going down, or level 3 has a link cut at the top tier internet providers. All that kind of annoying stuff starts to go away because of decentralization and the peer-to-peer nature of the technology and the internet. I think that's like super, super cool.
Yeah, it kind of leads into the idea of the new internet order.
Yeah.
Which is that there was this thing called the New World Order, and some families were involved in it, and it has, I think, economically military-industrial overtones. It's basically a continuous conflict then fund the defense contractors, and there's a manufacturing multiplier effect, and you employ people.
Yeah.
And then the congressmen have pork barrel contracts. You know, they want to get the defense contractors in their state or their district. And so it's something where you can actually pick it apart and figure out how it started and how it ends. And how it ends is the new internet order. It's basically millennials are coming of age in terms of, you know, independence, money, like a little bit of free time. And we're the first generation that grew up with the internet. So we demand certain things. We're starting to demand privacy. We're starting to demand redundancy for our data. And the internet, I think, becomes more and more powerful, whereas political affiliations become less and less powerful. And that means the NWO is fucked because we don't want to fight people across the ocean. We don't want to kill other people. We want to compete with them. How do you compete? How do you cooperate? Through the internet.
Yep.
So it's actually, I don't want to say obvious, but it seems like we're headed for a more peaceful world.
Yeah, I certainly hope so. I mean, people growing up, I would say 1995 or after thereabouts, is you've only lived a conscious life that has included internet. We can debate about the years and so forth, but I think the idea is that these people have never really experienced a life without the digital side. So they're going to demand these things because it is part of their reality. They don't know a reality that doesn't include the internet. And you can say what you want about people, whether that's good or bad, but I mean, it's just the march of progress and evolution and technology. People have made those similar kinds of arguments pre-internet about computers, about radio waves,
right.
It's, you know, automobiles, you know, they thought...
No, when a new technology launches, it never gets put back in the box.
Yeah.
So... yeah,
cool.
no, you're right. The younger generations are digitally trained. They expect everything on an app instantly.
And even our society is becoming appified, right? People expect things to just push button work, which is not the reality of the situation. And to some degree, I disagree with the idea that we should be an app society, but it's where we're headed, it's where we're at now. People expect that there's an app for everything, and you push a button and it shows up like an Uber.
Yeah.
So if the consumers are going to demand that, we're going to have to build a little bit more of that. And certainly that extends to politics and governance, right? The appification of governance. What does that look like? I think blockchains and smart contracts have something to say about that in the future.
Yeah. Well, if you want to create real voting systems that aren't able to be rigged or hacked, the only way to do it, as far as I can tell, is a blockchain. It doesn't have to be ethers. It can be, you know, anything, but it has to be a blockchain.
Yeah.
Center 0 at 6, visibility 10, sky conditions, few clouds 8,000, temperature 27, checked into the altitude, dew point 6, altimeter 3013. Visual approach, runway 35 right in use, landing and departing, runway 35 right, runway 35 left, runway 1028 available upon request, notices to airmen, runway right, PAPI's out of service, hazardous weather information.
Okay.
That's the other use we didn't talk about at all, which is that when I was at that developer thing in San Francisco, after the stupid Hello World contract didn't work, there was a really cool use case that was presented where you would just create a local grid and then, you know, sell your solar panel energy to your neighbors,
yeah.
Which makes so much sense. Instead of having a coal plant or a nuclear plant 100 miles away, and then, you know, these expensive cables, these expensive power lines bring it to your neighborhood. Why not have your computer make a deal with your neighbor? And your neighbor can help pay their rent, and you get cheap energy.
Yeah. I know people are already doing energy swaps. I don't know if you've read about it up in New York.
No.
There's people that are generating energy, I think, in the city, and then there are people growing vegetables out upstate more, and they're swapping energy for vegetables with like blockchain-based tokens. Like, awesome. Man, that's real right there.
Yeah.
You know, harnessing energy that's, you know, for the taking, and then getting food in exchange for it, and it's direct peer-to-peer between these two people, not through grocery stores and trucks and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's something really cool about that.
Definitely. If you can modernize the farmer's market, I think most people would prefer to get local, non-GMO'd food.
I certainly hope so. Let's check our...
Advise ground control your direction of flight. All departures advise ground control if you require run-up. When your run-up is complete, remain on ground control frequency until advised. Advise on this contact, you have information whiskey.
Still whiskey.
Centennial Airport information, whiskey, time 1635 Zulu, wind 290 at 6, visibility 10, sky condition.
Centennial Tower, Columbia 458 Whiskey Tango.
Columbia 458 Whiskey Tango, Centennial Tower.
458 Whiskey Tango, we're to the southwest, approximately 10 miles, 7,500. We'd like to come in for full stop landing.
Columbia 8 Whiskey Tango, and you have 8 Whiskey, fly eastbound to join final 35 right.
We have whiskey, and we will fly east to join 35 right, 8 Whiskey Tango.
Thank you.
Okay. Pre-landing checklist. Landing lights are on. Autopilot, we'll turn off when we get closer.
531 Golf Bravo, Centennial Tower, runway 35 right, line up and wait, traffic will cross downfield.
Sure.
Golf Bravo, line up and wait, 35 right, understand traffic crossing downfield.
Hey.
54 steer, traffic in position prior to your arrival.
Cancel autopilot.
Whiskey Tango, you're following a Piper Arrow on a 2-mile final. They're showing 100 knots. Wind 030 runway 35 right, clear to land.
Clear to land 35 right after the Piper for 8 Whiskey Tango. We'll float up here.
Alright, it's pulled.
Whiskey Tango. Additionally, there will be multiple aircraft ahead and to your left. They're all for the parallel runway.
Roger that. We'll look at that traffic, 8 Whiskey Tango.
Disconnecting autopilot. Pull the throttle back a bit here. Okay, start slowing things up a bit. Our nose up here, slow ourselves down. And as soon as we hit 127, throw those flaps in. Get a little rise, slow down a bit. Okay. Dump some altitude with our speed brakes. Cool. Landing. Okay. Speed brakes on, I suppose. Okay. Here we go. Now we get the nice view.
Traffic,
Yeah.
Short final.
Scanning, 8 Whiskey Tango.
Okay, he's on the ground.
Are we next up?
Yep.
Wind variable at 3.
Centennial Tower, strike 49, holding short, 24 right, ready.
Strike 49, roger, hold short, runway 35 right, landing traffic.
Hold short, 24 right, strike 49.
Arrow 54 steer, keep it rolling down the runway and stay parking.
We're gonna go through Alpha parking, 54 steer.
54 steer, keep a good roll of speed down to Alpha 5 and then ground point 8.
Alpha 5, ground point 8, 54 steer.
8 Whiskey Tango, the proceeding traffic is on the runway when you land, runway spacing is adequate.
Roger, 8 Whiskey Tango.
Okay.
Traffic, 12 o'clock, low, 2 miles.
Centennial Airport information X-ray is now current altimeter 3010, temperature 31, check density altitude. And hazardous weather information for Colorado available from flight service.
A little high, but we get a long runway, so.
1 Golf Bravo, you on frequency?
Traffic, 12 o'clock, low, 1 mile.
Or was it 8 Golf Bravo? Cessna 531 Golf Bravo, you still up?